Hey everybody, welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. Well, it is going to be a busy day here on the homestead. We have got just a bunch of smaller projects to finish up today. We thought we'd bring you guys along as we try to get some of these things knocked off the list.
We just wanted to be kind of like a day in the life, kind of follow us around throughout the day and see all the things that we do in one day, at least today.
Right. But we've already done some things today. We've already done all of our animal chores, and the sun is out, which is nice because it got pretty cold. It got down to 33 last night. And when it gets that cold, it means that we need to take all of our plants that we're growing for the farmer's market out of the greenhouse and move them into the sprout house, which means right now we've got a lot of plants inside of the sprout house.
Right. Right now, we can actually leave our spring plants, like our brassicas, cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, kale,
lettuce.
And our lettuce. We can leave those out in the greenhouse as long as it's not going to get super cold, like in the 20s. But everything else, the tomatoes, the peppers, and herbs have to get moved back into the sprout house. So we did that last night, but the sun's out, the greenhouse is warming up. It's time to get them back out and enjoy the sunshine and warmth.
So let's go inside of the sprout house. We'll show you guys what it looks like when we have it loaded with all of those plants. I think we got right around 3,000 plants in there right now. So it's a lot of plants and we need to bring them all out this morning. And unfortunately, we need to take them all back in tonight. But it's the best thing for the plants to get them outside. So let's get to work. Well, here we are inside of the sprout house. It's hard to believe that this is about 3,000 plants in here right now, but it is. We started this year for the farmer's market just under 1,700 tomato plants, all from seed. We've also got started about 650 pepper plants, a few different varieties of peppers. And then we've got somewhere around 300 or 400 different herb plants started as well. So, and then all of our spring plants that are still outside. So we've got a lot going for the farmer's market. You guys were so excited because this coming Saturday, just a few days after you guys see this video, is the very first weekend of the Ava Farmer's Market. So we're so excited. It gives us an opportunity to not only sell some of the things that we grow here, but also to meet some of you guys. So we hope that you guys will turn out for that. Now remember though, these first few weeks of the farmer's market, we don't bring tomatoes and peppers and warm weather plants. We don't start bringing those. I think this year we're going to start a couple weeks earlier than we did in the past. I think we're going to start around mid-April, but we're going to keep an eye on the weather. We just can't take the plants out and have it be damaging to them. But this week we'll have herbs, we'll have brassicas, we'll have lettuce, just a variety of things. Now, just as a reminder, we sell our plants at the Ava, Missouri Farmers Market. It runs from April to October, although we're normally only there in April and May. It runs from 8 a.m. to noon every Saturday morning, and there's a lot of great vendors there, guys. Whether you're looking for plants or produce, we have an awesome belt maker who makes homemade, handmade belts. I mean, just a variety of things. So we hope that you'll turn out and come show some support, not only for us, but for the other growers here in our part of Missouri. All right, let's start getting these plants out to the greenhouse. This alone takes normally 30 or 45 minutes of just carrying plants out. So we're not going to show it to you in real time, but we'll show you once everything is outside.
Now we're starting off with a pretty empty greenhouse in the morning. All of these tables are going to be filled with plants. These are the spring plants that we were talking about, the brassicas, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, and lettuce. These stay out, but we've got tables all in front of me, behind us here, and then these tables will be filled. And to be honest, we are out of table space. We're going to have to make more tables soon. We have a bunch of trays of baby tomato plants that we're hardening off gradually that won't end up in here today. They'll just end up outside for about 3 hours. So in a couple of days, they'll be ready to be out here in the greenhouse too with the bigger plants. And so we're gonna need quite a few more tables. That is so exciting. We'll make sure to show you all the plants out here today once we get them out. But it is warm enough and the sun is shining, so let's get these plants out here for the day.
All right, all of the plants are out. Now, just for reference, you guys, in case you don't know, our greenhouse is 20 feet wide by 60 feet long. So you can see we've got this side, pretty much all 60 feet of it filled up with plants. We've got about 10 feet in the back and probably 20 feet on that side. So a lot of plants. It's really good for them to be out in the greenhouse during the day. Even though it's a lot more work moving them in and out, it's really the right thing to do. Now, we do have shade cloth on the greenhouse already for the season. This is a 50% shade cloth, which means it blocks out 50% of the sun's rays, which gives these plants a good growing environment. I want to give you guys just a real quick update before we move on to the next thing. A few weeks ago, we did a video showing you guys, or maybe 2 weeks ago, that we were planting some of our early brassicas here in the greenhouse. You can see that they are doing phenomenal. We've got broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage. We've got a little bit of spinach. Now, we will be planting more of this stuff out in the actual garden as well. And soon, actually, these will be moving outside, these pots, because it's going to get too warm in the greenhouse for these plants. Now, I did want to update you guys as well. In that video, I told you I was going to experiment and take a risk and plant some early spring tomatoes here in the greenhouse in hopes that we weren't going to get any more frost. But you guys, just a few days, maybe 4 or 5 days after I planted those, it dipped down to 13 degrees for 2 nights in a row. And even though I had covered them with an ice cream pail and then a 5-gallon bucket and then a blanket on top of that, by the second night, it just wasn't enough and both of those plants died. So I guess I was just a little too excited for tomato season. But you guys, I'm going to get more planted here really soon. In fact, we're going to get all of our tomatoes planted here in the greenhouse within the next week or so. Anyway, let's move on to the next project that we have to accomplish today.
Well, the majority of the work that we're going to be doing today is going to be out here in our orchard area. We've got several things to accomplish. We're really glad to have you with us working on these projects today. You can see behind me, one of our fruit trees is blossoming. I think this is a cherry tree, actually. I don't have the layout memorized. This orchard we planted 2 winters ago. This will be the 3rd summer that they are growing. We have sweet cherry planted, sour cherry, apple, peach, pear, plum. We also have crab apple, and actually today we're going to add something new, so that's super exciting. But what we're going to start off with today is fertilizing the fruit trees. Now, the best time to fertilize your fruit trees is in the spring, right before bud break. Now, because of the variety of trees we have here, some of them are, the buds are already breaking a little bit. Some of them, it's perfect timing, and some of them aren't quite ready, but I'm just gonna fertilize them all. We have a couple days of rain coming up, so this is the perfect time for me to be fertilizing. So this year I am going to be using triple 13 granular fertilizer to fertilize all of these fruit trees. Now we have 12 fruit trees. We're going to be expanding that today and maybe even expanding in the future as well. So the triple 13 granular fertilizer is just going to work out the best for us because of the volume of trees that we have. I'm going to be applying 1 cup of the fertilizer around the drip line of all of these trees. There are several other options of fertilizer to use for fruit trees. If I were to use blood meal, I would be putting 3 cups of blood meal on the ground around each tree. If I were using rabbit manure, I would need 9 pounds of rabbit manure per tree. And if I were using steer manure, I would need 17 pounds for each tree on the ground around each tree. So today, quick, easy, we're going to be using triple 13. So I'm going to be sprinkling this granular fertilizer at the drip line, basically as far out as the branches go on this little tree. That's about as far out as I am going to spread them. But I am going to make sure to stay at least 6 inches away from the trunk of the tree. Sometimes if you're too close, you can kind of burn the tree that way. So that was quick and easy for the first tree. I'm just going to go around and do the same exact thing for every one of these trees. All finished. All 12 trees are now fertilized. Bring on the rain so they get a good drink. Now we're moving on. We are going to plant 2 new trees in the orchard. Kevin has been looking forward to them for 3 years. So we're just going to get to it and get them in the ground.
Well, you guys, here are the 2 trees that we are going to be planting today. When we lived in Arizona, we had mulberry trees, and I absolutely loved them. We actually had a mulberry tree when I grew up in Wisconsin too, when I was a little kid. But in Arizona, we had huge mulberry trees, and ever since we moved to Missouri, I've been missing those mulberry trees so much. And I've kept saying at our other homestead that we were going to plant some, and we never did. But here we are, and today we are finally going to be planting mulberry trees. Now, these 2 mulberry trees we got from Stark Brothers. If you're not familiar with Stark Brothers, they are an awesome tree and plant nursery here in Missouri, but they do ship all over the country. The thing that we like about Starks, first of all, is that they are here in Missouri, so they have a lot of varieties that do well in our area. But also Starks has a guarantee on all of their trees for an entire year after you plant them. They don't even ask whether or not it was your fault that the tree died or what happened. They'll just gladly send you out a new tree if one dies within the first year. So that is pretty awesome. I don't suspect we're going to have any problems. This is actually the 2nd full orchard that we've planted with trees from Stark Brothers at our other homestead and then here. And we haven't had a single tree die out of any of them that we've planted. So I really don't suspect we're going to have any problems with these either. But a guarantee makes you feel good. So we're going to get these planted. Now these are ever-bearing dwarf mulberry trees. Now, when I first saw a dwarf, I thought, I don't know if I want a dwarf tree because I want a gigantic tree. But these will still get about 15 to 20 feet tall and about 15 feet wide. So I think they're considered dwarf because you can prune them to keep them a lot smaller if you want to, but you certainly don't have to. And I'm going to tell you right now, we don't plan on keeping these very small. I'm going to let them grow as big as they will get. You can also let these grow like a bush, or you can trim them up and let them grow like a tree, which is what we plan on doing because we like trees better than the mulberry bushes. So, again, these are both the same. They're an ever-bearing mulberry. We're going to get these planted today. It's not a whole lot to it. These are not bare root like a lot of the trees from Starks. These are actually in soil. So we're going to dig a hole. We're going to cover them back up, and then we're going to put some manure on top, some steer manure, to give them a good start. How come there's always a rock right where you want to start?
I think it's good. Yeah. Yep.
Back home, sweet home, where the heroes go to get all cleaned up. Anyway, let's call it a day.
There, those are both planted. It didn't take too long at all. Now it is time for lunch and both Kevin and I are starving. So we're gonna take a quick break and then we will come back to the last project in the orchard for the day. Well, today for lunch we are having salad. Last night we had pork chops on the grill and we had some leftover pork chops. So we just diced them up. We chopped up some orange pepper and we shredded some white cheddar cheese, having that on top of some lettuce. That's lunch for us.
Right. Sticks to our keto diet and super tasty too. All right, and for dessert after lunch today, because I can't give up desserts, this is actually something I eat almost every day,
Yep.
sometimes even twice a day if I
Yep.
feel like it. And you guys, I'm down 26 pounds since my heaviest, since we've started on this new diet. I'm down about 15 or 16 pounds since the first of the year.
So this is a common dessert for us these days. Basically, we are eating plain unsweetened Greek yogurt with blueberries, walnuts, and a couple drops of stevia. Now, I wanted to let you guys know that a lot of these ingredients we buy in bulk from Azure Standard, and I know I talk about it a lot, but a lot of what we buy and a lot of what we eat is from there. Azure Standard is an online buying group where you can get really great prices on bulk and non-bulk, organic and non-organic foods. A group of people from your community all order together, and then those shipments are dropped off at a meeting location in your community. We have been enjoying Azure Standard for probably 5 or 6 years now. We're going to continue using them for a long time because it really is a great opportunity to save some money when you buy things in bulk. The blueberries that we're having today, we buy through Azure. They're organic and we buy them in 5 pounds at a time.
That lasts me about a day and a half. No, not really.
We also get a lot of bulk nuts, walnuts, and pecans. We also buy them in 5 pounds at a time. And these stevia drops are actually my favorite out of all the stevia drops in the entire world. It's the Stevita brand, and I really like the dropper. I like the taste. And this is just really a way for us to get something that tastes a little bit sweet without having to consume the sugar and the carbs.
Now on keto in general, you can't have a lot of fruit because it's high in sugar, but berries, especially blueberries and strawberries, actually are pretty good, and we can have about 3/4 of a cup a day, which is what we put in this today. So this is our dessert. We're gonna finish up and then it's back to work. All right, we came back out to the greenhouse because we have all those little tomato plants that we need to bring out in order to start hardening them off. We've been bringing them out now for a few days. Today they'll actually be outside for 3 hours. Tomorrow they'll be out for 4 hours, and then after that they can start staying out all day. But I also noticed that the greenhouse is getting a little too warm inside, so we're gonna roll up the side. We try to keep the greenhouse with our plant starts, we tried to keep it somewhere between 60 and 70 degrees, not above 70 degrees. One of the reasons that like tomatoes and things get long and lanky is by keeping them too warm. Really, tomato starts should be about 60 degrees, and that keeps them nice and short. It'll keep them growing slow, which makes them stronger instead of growing really fast and getting tall. So we don't want them to get too tall. All right, so we're gonna bring the other ones outside, and then we can get back to work in the orchard area. Well, that's another about 900 tomato plants. It'll be nice when everything can just finally start staying outside for the entire day. All right, let's get back over to the orchard. We've got something really exciting to show you guys we haven't told you about just yet.
Well, today is the day, you guys, that we are expanding what we are growing in this orchard and garden area. Now, the area that we're in is a 1-acre plot that we had fenced off, actually double fenced off. 1/3 of it is our garden, 1/3 of it is our orchard, and the other third is where we're at right now. We've always planned to grow grapes here, blueberries, and then blackberries and raspberries. And today we're going to show you something we've already done, but we're also going to continue working on this part of the project over here.
We took a few days off from doing videos last week, and one thing that we did while we had some time off, because time off is never time off on a homestead, well, one thing that we did was we planted our grapes. You guys, we planted a 100-foot row of grapes right here, 12 total grapevines. And this is something that we've been planning on doing ever since we bought this property 3 years ago.
Now, just like the orchard trees and plants, we got our grapevines from Stark Brothers here in Missouri. We ended up planting 6 seedless Concord grapes, 3 seedless Reliance grapes, and 3 seedless Neptune. So we have a purple, a red, and a white.
Right. You guys, now we won't be getting grapes this year, but hopefully in just a couple years, we will have more grapes than we know what to do with for fresh eating. May even experiment with making some wine. Who knows what we're gonna do down the road.
Now, these grapevines were planted as bare root, and after we did that, we put compost around them so that as it rains, the nutrients from the compost will seep down into the ground and fertilize them to give them a great start. What we haven't done yet, though, is protected the area from weeds, and so that's what we're going to be working on right now.
Right. Everything that we've read have said that grapes do best with no weed pressure, or as little weed pressure as possible. So today we're going to be putting out, we're going to be rolling out 6-foot wide weed fabric. Now, we're going to do this a little bit backwards because we weren't sure how to dig the holes and if the weed fabric was already down. So what we're going to do is, now that the grapes are in, we're going to roll the weed fabric out kind of next to the row of grapes.
Right.
And then we're just going to eyeball where the holes are going to go. We're going to make them a little bigger than they need to be in case we're off a little bit.
Right.
And then we're going to put the whole row of weed fabric over the row of grapes.
So this is a new way of installing the weed fabric that we've never shown before. And this is a really great idea and option for those of you who have existing plants, but
Right.
you don't know how to get the weed fabric over them, but would really like to utilize that method, because you guys, it is just so much easier to just lay down the weed fabric and not have to worry about the weeds all summer long.
Right. So we're going to get started. We're not exactly sure how this is going to go. Luckily, it's not a super windy day,
super windy.
so we think it's going to go just fine. All right, we're going to get started. We're using the 6-foot wide DeWitt Sunbelt weed fabric, the same stuff that we use in the garden, except this is the 6-foot wide, and then we're just going to burn the holes with a butane torch. All right, we've got our weed fabric rolled out. All we did was we stapled down this first edge here, and we rolled it out. We put T-posts laying across it in a couple spots because the wind is blowing a little bit today and we don't want it to blow up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use our butane torch. We're going to basically eyeball where one of the grapevines is, and then we're going to come in and we're just going to burn a hole in that spot and then move down to the next one. We're going to burn a hole, I would say probably about this big. I think that should be big enough. Then what we're going to do is we're going to roll the entire thing back up, move it over so that this hole will be in line with the grapevines, and then we'll unroll it again, go over the grapevine, staple down that section, and move on and just do that all the way down the row. So let's burn this first hole and we'll see how it goes.
Well, that worked out really well. We ended up unrolling the weed fabric over 2 of the grapevines and then putting down a T-post to weigh it down rather than doing the stapling all at once. The reason we did that is we wanted to make sure that the angle of the weed fabric was straight, and we felt like if we did all of the stapling as we went down the row, it might look crooked and look kind of weird. So we just decided to do it that way, and it turned out really well. It was easy, and we could work together to get it done. Now we just need to go back and put in all of the landscape staples to make sure that the weed fabric doesn't flip up with the wind.
Well, that is a job well done. We have all of that weed fabric stapled down, which is good because we have a couple days of rain coming up again, and before the grass grows even more around those grapevines, it'll be good to start kind of suppressing it.
Now we do have trellises that we need to put up also so that the grapes have somewhere to climb. We're not going to have a chance to do that today. We'll need to do that another day. But what was the most important about this project today was getting the weed fabric down, because even though the grapes really aren't growing right now, the grass is really starting to grow.
Right.
And so we needed to suppress those to give the grapevines the best chance possible of succeeding.
Right. So it is almost time to head inside and start dinner. The sun is starting to go down lower in the sky, although we are really enjoying these longer days that we're starting to get. In just an hour or so, we need to take in all of those plants that we're hardening off. We also need to then bring in all of the plants again tonight, because it's going to freeze again tonight or get really close.
And then after that, we need to do our evening animal chores, and we still have a video to edit tonight. So we've got plenty left to do, and we just need to move on so we can get to the end of the day with completing a lot of tasks.
That's how life on a homestead goes. There's rarely a moment to sit down, but you guys, it is a very rewarding life.
Yes.
You guys, thank you so much for spending the day with us today. Everything from our morning all the way till now in the evening. We're just so glad that you're along. Hey, if you're enjoying our videos and you enjoy our channel, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and most importantly, hit that subscribe button before you leave. Don't forget, as always, the absolute best way that you can help us here on our channel is just by sharing our videos on all of your social media. Until next time, thank you so much for stopping by our homestead. Take care and God bless.
God bless.